Hello, good evening to you. Welcome. This is Ghana Tonight. We are live from the news hub at Desawe Kanda. Also live on TV3 Ghana on Facebook, DSTV channel 279, all across the world on 3news.com. I am Alfred Ocansey. Tonight, the Electoral Commission justifies the use of Ghana card as a sole document for voters register amidst disagreement from the minority who are demanding more answers. Tonight, we find out why the Ghana card and why not the Ghana card and other documents. Stay with us. We'll get into it. And also, neighboring Nigeria protests against the Nigerian INEC over dispute elections result. We understand in some areas. We go live to Nigeria for updates, including the debate whether a candidate necessarily needs to win Abuja to be president. That's been a big issue of disagreement, even amongst lawyers in Nigeria, whether that particular state of Abuja should necessarily be won by the person who is leading. We have a lawyer who is reacting to what the APC has also been saying. Stay with us here on Ghana Tonight. Let's get into all of that, and we'll hear from you as well. Let's connect with you across all social media platforms. The hashtag is Ghana Tonight on Facebook and Twitter. Let's get talking. Well, let's settle for Ghana Briefs. Chairperson of the Electoral Commission, Jane Mensah, has made a case for the use of the Ghana card as a sole document for registering as a voter, appearing in Parliament to justify a new law that will require only a Ghana card to be able to register as a voter. The EC chair argued the grantor system used during elections is porous and needs to be scrubbed.
Over the years, the guarantor system has presented us with several challenges. Unfortunately, we were unable to discard it much earlier due to the absence of a national identification card such as the one issued by the NIA.
Finance Minister Ken Oforiatta has assured the National Identification Authority, NIA, that the 20 million cedi budgetary allocation will be released to enable it go ahead with its operations. He was responding to concerns expressed by NIA boss Professor Ken Atefa that it could not print over 500,000 ID cards due to financial challenges.
Once NIA's job is linked to the elections, Mr. Speaker, we can assure the House that we would ensure that the resources needed would always be provided.
The Health Committee of Parliament has resolved to compel the Health Minister, Kukua Jumameno, to appear before the House after he failed to appear before it on Tuesday. The minister was to brief members on the shortage of vaccines for children, which has led to an outbreak of measles in parts of the country.
If we invite any persons to appear before us as Committee of Parliament and they do not respect the committee, we'll move to the next stage. And the next stage is simply to issue a subpoena so that you don't give them any option than to appear. And failure to do that, then you follow up with the necessary consequences.
The governing All Progressive Congress, APC, is fighting back strongly that elections were rigged in their favor by INEC. Addressing the media in Abuja, Dele Alake, lead spokesperson for the Bola Tinubu campaign, in a strongly worded text says the allegations are baseless and just an attempt to tarnish the image of the Independent National Electoral Commission of Nigeria.
Assaults aimed at discrediting the whole electoral process and the integrity of INEC by their so-called paid and partisan agents who wear the toga of election observers.
Protesters have activated a series of action aimed at getting Nigeria's INEC to halt the current collision of results without the use of the bimodal voter accreditation system. Scores of protesters marched on the streets asking the chairman of INEC to step down.
is a proposal to adopt the Ghana card as the sole source of identification for any person who wishes to register as a voter. This implies that the guarantor system, which hitherto allowed a registered voter to vouch for the citizenship and age of prospective applicants, will no longer be relied upon as part of our registration exercise. The reason is that over the years, the guarantor system has presented us with several challenges. Unfortunately, we were unable to discard it much earlier due to the absence of a national identification card such as the one issued by the NIA. The challenges with the guarantor system are twofold. First of all, it opens the door for registered voters or guarantor contractors to guarantee and vouch for persons who are less than 18 years old. Secondly, it allows these guarantors to vouch for persons who are not citizens of Ghana.
So that's Jane Mensah, EC chair, there in Parliament earlier today. She wasn't alone. In fact, the NIA boss was there. The finance minister was in Parliament, and I'll tell you why he was in Parliament. The major concern of the minority, not just the minority in Parliament, the academia, and some other section of the Ghanaian people about this constitutional instrument the Electoral Commission intends to introduce to make the Ghana card the sole identity document for the continuous registration exercise ahead of the 2024 elections is the availability of the Ghana card for use by all eligible persons to register to vote, so that eligible voters wouldn't be disenfranchised. That's been the major concern, amongst other concerns that have been raised, which we will get into as we go on the show. So if you go to the Electoral Commission's website, okay, today, this is what you'll find. In 2020, we went in with 33,367 polling stations, and then 17,027,641 registered voters. 17,027,641 registered voters. Keep this in mind. What the National Identification Authority, together with the Electoral Commission, is saying is that they project that all things being equal, there could be a rise of this eligible voters to about 19 million. So this is what you see there, okay? They project that it may be just a little above 19 million before or going into the 2024 elections. So if we work with the 19 million projection, if you subtract what the National Identification Authority is saying to us is that the total number of persons who have received their Ghana card is 17.3 million. So you take that out and you'll see that difference of 1.7. Now, this is it. Professor Kenneth Tefua, when he went to Parliament earlier today, gave this detail. The cards printed and issued, that is, cards that have been collected by Ghanaians, that those of us who have the Ghana card, its total is 17.3 million. And keep this 17.3 million in mind. The reason being that not everybody who has this 17.3 million is 18 years and above and can vote, because as you know, the law says that people who are 15 years and above is what the Ghana card can, or the people the Ghana card can be issued to. So this 17.3 million consists of people who are 15 years, 16, 17, right? But the cards that are printed but not collected, 642,403. Cards yet to be printed, 541,529, and that's what Professor Kenneth Tefua talked about, issues related to the financial challenges and reason why they've not been able to carry it out. There are some blank cards in bonded warehouses that the NIA has not been able to access because they owe the banks that pre-finance the purchasing of these blank cards. And that's why earlier today, the finance minister was in Parliament to give that assurance that they're going to release some 100 million cedis that the NIA needs to do this, because the issue of finances was also a major concern for people. So that's what the picture looks like with the NIA. But what we're going to be finding out right after this is whether the assurance by the NIA that they can actually print the cards in record time for those who needed to go through this registration, continuous registration, ahead of the election 2024, and then reactions whether the EC assurance that the Ghana card will cure the issue of foreigners and minors on our voters register. That's really satisfied the people who were raising those concerns. But look at this. When we got to know that 17.3 million people have access to the Ghana card, remember that there are 15-year-olds and 16-year-olds in there. So we decided to drill down the data, break it down to disaggregate and separate those who are 18 years and above from those who are 18 years or 17, 16, 15. This is what the NIA gave us. As of February 19, 2023, this data, AHAFO, you have the 18 years plus being 293,956. But I'm going to take the 4 regions plus the strongholds of the MPP and NDC for obvious reasons. Look at the Ashanti region. If you do the breakdown, you have some 3.23 million people who are 18 years and above. If you come to the Greater Accra region, it's about 3.47 million thereabout. Take a look at the Northern region as well. You have about 909,451 people who are 18 years plus. Then you go to Northeast, and then Savannah regions, and OT, and then look at the Upper West and the Volta region. Look at that. You have 868 people, that's 279, who are 18 years and above. This is the breakdown of the 17.3 million people who have the Ghana card. So if you add all the 18 plus and above, you're going to get just about 16, just a little over 16.8 million. So then it raises questions about whether the shortfall of between 16.8 and 19 million projected eligible voters by 2024, the NIA can actually print all these cards in record time. Stay with me. The people who put all these concerns out and reason why the EC chair was brought before Parliament to answer questions, they're going to be joining us right after this quick break here on Ghana Tonight. We'll come back to these and drill them down a bit more. Stay with us.
Hello! Have you heard of the Franco air condition, specially made to fit the Ghanaian weather? It has authentic capabilities, which is the original sizes ranging from the 1.5 horsepower, 2.0 horsepower, and the 2.5 horsepower. So if you are looking for an air condition to fit your homes, offices, schools, hotels, apartments, churches, it's Franco Trading Enterprise. For bulk purchases, look no further than Franco Trading Enterprise. Franco Trading Enterprise, the home of quality air conditioning.
His investigative piece on the horrifying state of Ghana's morgues caught the public eye. This time around, he's taking us to the cemeteries.
This is a human skull.
The image of neglect is camouflaged by the scenery.
This you can see right here is a human womb.
Sunken graves.
Oh my, the grave just caved in. Can you imagine?
The abandonment here is glaring. Health experts are troubled.
Somebody is not doing his or her duty. It's not supposed to be like that.
Journey with Godwin Asediba as he reveals a heart-wrenching story on Ghana's creepiest cemeteries. Is the dead truly resting in peace or in pieces?
No Rest in Peace, showing March 1 at 9 p.m. on TV3, TV3 Ghana across social media, and 3news.com.
Let's go, let's go. Go back, go back. Kubani.
3FM Gobe Festival.
Gobe Festival.
Gobe Festival.
Gobe.
3FM.
Gobe.
Gobe. Gobe.
Go, 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 go. Gobe. Let's Gobe.
Gobe Festival.
We are on a mission promoting access to quality health and education through the power of our media space. Since 2014, we have made great impact. TV3 mission now drives Ghana's quest to break barriers and provide access to inclusive and quality girls' education, together with women's maternal health services. Our mission to address the needs of the socially excluded has won the admiration of many. Indeed, TV3 Mission gets you the results. Mission is live on TV3 News 360 every Saturday and Sunday. Supported by Star Ghana Foundation, with thanks to Foreign Commonwealth and Development Office.
What's your take on an ideal guy?
I'm attracted to sapiosexuals.
Oh, sapiosexuals. Cool.
The smart guys.
See, I am one.
What's your take for the constitutional review?
See, they are really disturbing me. They are worrying. Review. Constitutional review. The call for a constitutional review is not a bad call.
Really?
At all. Especially in the light of the fact that some laws have outlived their usefulness.
It was just gentlemen. I think Afenijan.
Afenijan? Who doesn't know Afenijan? Excellent footballer. Dangerous. Tactical.
There's this show on TV. It's a music show. Mentor.
I like Mentor. See, my family watches Mentor. Everybody. Hey, see, everywhere Mentor.
Where edition?
Eh?
Where edition?
Mentor's gonna take you higher.
Don't be clueless. Stay on top of issues with 3news.com and tune in to Media General's radio platforms on the go using 3news.com. Welcome back. This is Ghana Tonight. Here's Chairperson of the Electoral Commission, Jane Mensah, talking about the continuous registration and raising concerns as well about some of the issues that got her into Parliament earlier today. Jane Adokwe-Mensah spoke earlier in Parliament.
It's important that we recognize that it is a continuous registration exercise. Had we had a system where it was a limited registration exercise, let's say that in July of 2022, we decided to conduct a limited registration exercise for a period of 4 weeks, then we would have that challenge. Because at the end of 4 weeks, if persons didn't have the register, they would not be able to. If they didn't have the NIA card, we would not be able to register them. But the good news is that this is a continuous registration process. And had we initiated the process as far back as July, people would still not be disenfranchised, because if they do not have the card today, they could always have it tomorrow. So what we are saying is that had we been maintaining the limited registration process, then the NIA's inability to supply the cards would have led to disenfranchising citizens. Because we have a continuous process, if you don't have the card in July, you can have the card in March and still come to the offices to register. So I think that because it is a continuous process, there's no rush. Yes, we have all the way to October 2024 to have people registered, but there is no rush because it is not a limited process.
Well, so that's just a piece of a number of things that she responded to. Later, you would hear from Professor Kenneth Tefa, NIA Executive Secretary as well. But let's go on to the telephone now and on Zoom as well. Welcome. Honorable Mama Yarga is a Member of Parliament for Bako Central. And then also Dr. John Osai Kwapong, who is a Senior Fellow at Development Democracy at the Center for Democratic Development, CDD. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us on Ghana Tonight. Let's start off with you, Honorable Mama Yarga. So that's the AC chair there, talking about the continuous nature of this exercise, and so depending on the time you get your Ghana card, you could still get registered. Does it really address the concerns that you have as a section in Parliament?
No, I mean, we appreciate any process that facilitates continuous registration. But at the same time, we reject obstacles, reasonable obstacles being placed in the way of a person who has turned 18 and is desirous of being captured as a voter for purpose of elections. And the argument that we're making is that by law, there are different mechanisms for proving that you are a citizen. And we've used these mechanisms in the past, and they have worked. And we believe that this effort to restrict the mechanism for proving citizenship to only one medium is unjustified, cannot be accepted, because there are other laws that make provision for other mechanisms for proving that you are a citizen. If somebody goes through the process of obtaining a passport, the passport is prima facie evidence that the person is a citizen. If somebody presents his birth certificate, and on the birth certificate, it indicates the names of the person's parents and indicates the nationality of their parents, that they are Ghanaians, prima facie, unless you prove that the person lost his citizenship by adopting the citizenship of another country, that birth certificate is evidence that can be used to prove that that person is a Ghanaian citizen. The same way, if you go to the Citizenship Act, it says that the Minister for Interior can certify that a person is a citizen, and that certificate is evidence, prima facie, that that person is a citizen of Ghana. So we're saying that in the face of all these laws, UEC cannot just come to us as parliamentarians and say that we should allow you to pass a CI that says that all these mechanisms for proving a person's citizenship should be jettisoned, and that the only document that you will recognize is the Ghana card. That's the first legal issue. Then the second issue is that we say, okay, why are you doing this? Because you have a mechanism yourself that you have used. And they said, oh, that mechanism, has a problem. And the problem is the guarantor system. And that the guarantor system is subject to abuse. And then they brought us data of how, minors were guaranteed for, and then, they were challenged, and then they deleted their names and etc. Even though the argument itself proves that the system works, because if he has guarantor system, but then the guarantor system makes provision for challenge, and then it gives you a mechanism to investigate, and then once you establish that, there was wrongful guarantee, that you can delete, it means that the system works, and you made it to work. But nevertheless, you said that the system is open to abuse, and that is why you will only accept Ghana cards. And we have pointed out to you that, but the person who is issuing the Ghana card also uses a guarantor system. So why are you rejecting your own guarantor system and going to adopt somebody else's guarantor system? And the only answer she could give us was that, the guarantor system of the NIA is more robust because that one, there's a mechanism for commissioners of oaths to participate. And we said, okay, how about if you just adopted that one? You should just change your guarantor system and start using the guarantor system of the NIA so that, you still have a guarantor system as an option available to a citizen who doesn't have a Ghana card and yet must prove to you that he or she is a citizen for the purposes of being registered to vote. I thought this was a very reasonable argument. But then they insist that no, they will not accept. But there's another obstacle that we saw in the CI that she is proposing, which is that the continuous registration exercise is not going to be like in the past when the Electoral Commission reached out to the voters by going close to them, that is polling stations in their communities, and registering them there. But said that you must come to the district office of the Electoral Commission, and then they will register you.
Right.
And we're saying that if you add the obstacle of they must present a Ghana card, and the Ghana card also, they must travel to the district office to obtain the Ghana card, and then they must travel back again to the district office of the Electoral Commission in order to be registered. We think that you are placing unreasonable obstacles in the way of an 18-year-old who has just turned 18 and wants to register. And in environments where the district office is so far away from the residence of that person, you would have effectively disenfranchised that person. And we gave examples. I mean, there were colleagues in the chamber who were able to show, I mean, some of us, our constituencies, let's say the furthest end to the district office might just be like 20 kilometers. But there were MPs who were able to show that the furthest end of their constituency to their district NIA office and their district electoral commission office is about 80 kilometers. And Bole Bomboy was mentioned as one such example. So a young person who has just turned 18 in that community, which is 80 kilometers away from the district office, will have to first travel to the district capital, to the NIA office. And you know that there are many people who have gone to the NIA office and have registered and have not obtained the card. They have given all their details, but NIA has not printed their card for them. So it means that this young man will have to travel to 80 kilometers to the district office, go and provide his details, may not succeed in getting his NIA card at the first instance, may go a second time, may even go a third time, and after he has obtained that, now travel again back to the same district office to go and then apply also to be registered as a voter. And we're saying that when you do these things to a taxpayer, you are placing an unreasonable obstacle in the way of that person. So keep open to that person the option of having a person guaranteeing or person guaranteeing for that person, even if you will tighten the guarantee mechanisms, since you have confidence in the guarantee mechanisms of the NIA.
So it's your proposal
that guarantee mechanism.
It's your proposal that the guarantor system should run concurrently with this Ghana card system until such a time when
then passports. And then
passports.
Certificates of interior ministers. All these are by law mechanisms for proving that somebody is a citizen. So you cannot foreclose all these and insist that they must go to NIA first. And when NIA certifies that they are citizens, then they will not come to you.
Okay. Hold on a bit for me. Let me bring in Dr. John Osai-Kwapong. So that's the argument of the minority. And the EC is also making that argument that, look, the Ghana card is potent enough to, for instance, ensure the integrity of the register. And that is not having foreigners and others on, that's minors on the electoral roll, together with the concerns that the minority has raised. I want to find out your thoughts on this.
Yes, so I know that that has been the EC's position. In fact, several months ago, I was on Newspower with, I think he's their director of elections, Dr. Sribwo, who made the same case on behalf of the EC, which is the use of the Ghana card is going to further ensure the integrity of the voters' register. Right, that everybody's biometrics is is captured. It allows you to ensure that, like you said, there are no minors, there are no foreigners. It's only Ghanaians who are eligible to vote and have that fundamental right to vote will be the ones who are captured on the voters' register. In principle, I agree. I agree with the EC. I agree with the EC because there was a report after the 2012 limited registration exercise by, I think it was the Jimmy Carter Center, because they were one of the observers of that exercise. They pointed out some of the lapses and weaknesses in the registration system. And one of it focused on the behavior of political parties, right? That it appeared to them that it was sort of a numbers game, and that the two main political parties were engaged in this exercise of trying to register as many people as possible, because ultimately it's a numbers game and it's a vote thing. And over the years, in our various registration exercises, we hear stories about minors on the register and things like that. But the question is, who gets these minors, or who encourages them to these polling stations, etc., etc. So in principle, I agree with the EC that they want to strengthen the integrity of the voters register, and some of the things they have to help do administratively is to cure some of that mischief that comes along with the registration exercise. So in principle, I can agree that, yes, you want to enhance the integrity of the voters register. I think for me, my concern has always been that because the right to vote is very fundamental and enshrined in the Constitution, that you don't want to use administrative procedures to create burdens for the voter. And that is why when we were looking a couple of months ago at the NIA process and the number of people who have been captured but don't have their card, whatever challenges they may face in getting that card, my worry has always been that in the event that something that we are unable to anticipate happens and prevents a Ghanaian who is eligible to vote from getting that card to then go to the EC to register to vote, doesn't get it, then what happens to that Ghanaian? Because you would have denied them their fundamental right. And that is why on that show with Dr. Srebo and others, I suggested that at least you could have a secondary backup document in the event of some of these unanticipated circumstances. But Alfred, having also said that, just this Saturday, I was on a show with Professor Atefa, who is the head of the NIA, who said that the main challenge they were facing was financial, right? They needed to pay the supplier. I think there was some, the supplier of the cards, the person who prints the cards was owed some money.
That's right.
Eventually, they began to settle
that's 100
some
million.
of those arrears, etc., etc. So
yes.
I don't doubt the technical and human resource competency of NIA to do their work in terms of capturing the remaining. I think the number is about close to 2 million, if I recall from what Prof said. The main challenge they face is the finance piece. And so if that can be resolved, then that can be done.
Yeah.
So again, it brings me back to my original argument, which is we all, in principle, support the whole Ghana card idea. We all believe that a Ghana card system will do a lot of really good things.
I see.
If we are going to link it to something as critical as one's fundamental right to vote, then we really need to make sure that we put the NIA in a position with all the financial resources they need to make sure that happens. And that's why, for me, I'm still sort of waiting for another month or two to see how all of this plays out. And that's why I would still urge that we have a backup in place, just in case the NIA runs into the same financial constipation, as Professor Tefa put it on the show.
And it's a very important point. And I recall that the finance minister was in Parliament today. Professor Tefa indicated that they had received some 80 million out of 100 million, and 20 million was going to be made available before close of day today. How did that concern of the finances, which impacts on the operations of the NIA, get addressed today in Parliament?
The record is that they owe the contractor over $100 million. Over $100 million. And they are saying that they have been able to pay 80 million Ghana cedis. So somebody that you owe over $100 million, if you are able to pay just 80 million Ghana cedis, which is probably not even up to $10 million. So it's not even up to 10% of what you owe the person. Why would I be confident that because of this small money that you have paid, all the problems of the National Identification Authority will be solved? Especially in this current economic crisis where I know that even paying salaries is a problem for you. You can't even pay your debt, you can't pay your bondholders, and etc. And you come and tell me that because you have paid just less than 10% of what NIA owes the contractor, we shall have confidence in you that all the problems of the NIA will be resolved, and therefore, you know, we should count on NIA to be able to give every eligible Ghanaian a Ghana card in order that they will be able to exercise their constitutional rights. So that argument really doesn't come in. And I said that, okay, if NIA is 100% confident that by the date of registration, everybody who is entitled to register would have their Ghana card, then there's no need making it a compulsory legal requirement for the citizen. Let's rather focus on making sure that the NIA gets everybody their card, because nobody is a fool or an idiot. When you have a Ghana card, then you will go and be looking for guarantors to come and guarantee for you. Those guarantors don't have time to waste. So you won't be holding a Ghana card and then you come and tell them that come and guarantee for me, and they waste their time guaranteeing for you. So naturally, anybody who has a Ghana card and is desirous of voting, registering to vote, would go with their Ghana card to go and register. In the last registration exercise, the EC chairperson herself told us that 10 million people registered using their Ghana card. They registered using their Ghana card because they had a Ghana card. 6 million people did not register using the Ghana card. And I believe they did so because they did not have a Ghana card. So if you make it possible for all those who are eligible to register to have their Ghana card, they will naturally come with that Ghana card. But if you make it a law that, oh, unless you are holding a Ghana card, don't come here. If the person doesn't have a Ghana card, he will not come. You would have disenfranchised somebody who constitutionally is entitled to be registered as a voter and then to participate in the vote. And your job is simply to ascertain whether the person is a citizen. And I'm saying that there are people in this country, Ghana, who are holding passports, who have gone to try to register to obtain a Ghana card. Maybe their data have been taken, but the card itself has not been issued to them. The EC tells us that they have printed people's cards, but they have not yet been able to deliver those cards to people. So such a person has an alternative document, which is his passport, which he could have shown you the Electoral Commission as evidence of his citizenship, the basis for you to have issued a voter ID card to that person. And yet, because you've come with this law that disables you from issuing a voter card to that person will not be able to get a voter ID card. So we're saying that leave the law as it is. Since the EC has come here, the finance minister also has come here, and they have given Ghanaians assurance that NIA will get all the money that they need to be able to capture everybody. Then let them capture everybody, because once they capture everybody, those people will go with their Ghana cards and go and then register and obtain their voter ID card.
I see.
But don't put it in the law that unless you come here with a
Ghana
card, you will not be registered.
Let's take a listen to the finance minister because of that assurance that he makes, which clearly the minority is not convinced that those assurances would make any significant difference.
This same finance minister, how many things hasn't he come to assure Ghanaians and failed on them? This person said, oh, he's not going to the IMF. No matter what, he's not going to the IMF. The following morning, he comes out, we should go to IMF. This person said, oh, we won't be doing haircuts. Then the following morning, so we have to do haircuts. So this finance minister, I mean, we are in parliament. There are assurances that he's given that he's never lived up to his assurances. And so in those economic matters, we can live with it. But where a fundamental constitutional right is implicated, we will not act based on just the verbal assurances of the finance minister.
Let's take a listen to the finance minister, and I'll come to you, Honorable Mayagra, and Dr. Osai-Kwapong as well.
The 3.5 million cars will be released at the appropriate time for the work to be done. We agreed on 100 million CD transfer, and as he rightly said, 80 million has been put into the accounts of CAL, and 20 million, as he also mentioned, will be done by close of business today. So we are very comfortable about the situation to ensure that the needed cards will be given to the NIA to do its work. The government has been extremely good about funding elections, and once NIA's job is linked to the elections, Mr. Speaker, we can assure the House that we would ensure that the resources needed would always be provided.
For you, Honorable Mayagra and the minority, because of the precedence of instances where the finance minister has failed to live by the promise, this doesn't make any difference. But we've also just received information. I think this happened even before.
There's something more fundamental.
Yes.
And that is the fact that in the law as we have it today, you can use your Ghana card to prove your citizenship so that you can be registered to vote. Now, this is a finance minister and a chief executive of NIA giving us assurance that they have made provision for everybody who is entitled to get a Ghana card to get it. And we are saying that is good. If everybody who is entitled will get it, let's leave the law as it is. So that if they get it and then they are desirous of going to register, they will simply go and present it and then they will be registered. But as it is now, we are not sure whether you will actually live up to your promise. Even if you are giving the money, we are not sure that you will reach out to every Ghanaian who is entitled to be registered, or that every Ghanaian who is entitled to be registered will be able to reach out to you to be registered. So just leave the law as it is.
Okay, because the NIA is just indicating to us that the 20 million difference of the 100 million CDs, not the dollars, has hit their account, and so they have 100 million CDs out of the $100 million which you indicated they owe the contractor.
So just imagine you have only paid 10% of, or even less than 10% of what you owe. Because what they owe the contractor is about $150 million. And so if you've made arrangement just to pay $100 million, you haven't even scratched the surface of the problem.
I see. Dr. Osai-Kwapong.
And it's not just a money issue. You see, people must understand that we're talking about convenience to the Ghanaian who has turned 18 and has to enjoy his constitutional right to be registered to vote. We're saying that to say he must go and obtain a Ghana card first before he comes to the Electoral Commission is not convenient in the first place. And we are not sure because since Kufuor's time, President Kufuor's time, we've been trying to have this Ghana card well done, and we haven't done it well. What is the guarantee that by 2024, everybody who is entitled to get Ghana card will have done so, and then it will be easy for the person to be registered as a voter. So let's leave the law as it is. If you actually register them, they will use it. If you don't register them, let them have an alternative mechanism for proving that they are Ghanaian citizens.
Honorable Mayagra, I thank you so much for staying up and joining us on Ghana Tonight. The germane concerns that you raised. So what? In the end, the EC chair is supposed to come back again to Parliament? Unfortunately, we lost him there. But Dr. Sakwapong, finally, you would agree with those who also raise concerns about whether the Ghana card being used is potent enough to prevent foreigners from getting onto the register, especially because of reports that some Nigerians and others have been found with Ghana cards and not the cards issued to foreigners?
And again, the burden then is really on the NIA to ensure that whatever lapses that they have discovered in the process of registering and issuing Ghanaians with Ghana cards will be addressed and be fixed, right? I mean, I'm sure in any administrative setup, you would have if you have 99% of people responsible for the registration doing the right thing, you might have one or two quote unquote mischievous people trying not to do the right thing. So again, you want to build it into one or two multiple checks, right? That maybe it's not just one person, who is responsible for issuing the card or capturing your biometrics, right? Perhaps there should be a secondary person who double checks what the first person has done. My overall point is that you're correct. The fact that we've seen one or two, you've seen a couple of people in possession of the card who are not supposed to legally have the card, does raise some legitimate concerns. And again, the burden is on the NIA to continue to strengthen their internal mechanisms and processes to give us every assurance that if the EC's argument will hold, that a Ghana card will prevent minors and foreigners from getting on the register by linking it to the Ghana card, we would also make sure that we will do our part as the NIA to ensure that that happens.
Dr. John Osai-Kwapong, thank you so much. He is a senior fellow at the Center for Democratic Development, CDD. Boko Central MP, Mama Yarga, thank you so much for your time as well. Let's go to another election-related matter. This is Nigeria. President Akufo-Addo has expressed Ghana's solidarity with Nigeria as they encounter the challenges in the ongoing national elections. He spoke earlier today. Take a look.
I cannot end today without expressing the solidarity of the Ghanaian people with the brotherly people of our great neighbor, the Federal Republic of Nigeria, as they encounter significant challenges in the ongoing national elections for new national leadership, and hope that these challenges will be resolved peacefully in accordance with due process, and that the will of the Nigerian people will be duly manifested. The impact on the cause of democracy in West Africa, and indeed in the entire continent of Africa, by the events in Nigeria, cannot be overemphasized. We wish them the best of luck and God's blessings.
That's President Akufo-Addo. But earlier, a man in Abuja manning the election command center there in Abuja, Komla Kluche, sent through pockets of protest, many states in the country against INEC and in support of INEC as well. So take a look at this. This is the protests in support of INEC. Look.
INEC conducted this election free and fair. It is quite unfortunate that certain elements and minute percentage of Nigerians come out and try to kick against what INEC has actually done. We should applaud INEC for what they have actually done, and that is why we are standing and saying INEC is standing for democracy, and we Nigerians, the vast majority, are also standing by INEC. And we are asking INEC to complete their job and say no to whatever agenda that a minute percentage of Nigerians or whatever they call themselves are actually agitating for. We are not cancelling this election. If we have to cancel this election, we have to go on the basis of why should we cancel the election. There is a vast majority. When we say elections, what are we talking about? We're talking about majority people spread across the 36 states. If you say there are issues, in what areas are these issues? And what is the number of these people that are complaining there are issues? If you say there are issues in polling units, what polling unit are you talking about? And what is the voting statistics there? The process must be...
So let's take a look at the protesters who are also against INEC and raising concerns about vote rigging and so on. And they've also been raising concerns as well. But take a listen to the APC, that's the head of media relations addressing the press earlier, also backing INEC.
Assaults aimed at discrediting the whole electoral process and the integrity of INEC by their so-called paid and partisan agents who wear the toga of election observers. We consider Obasanjo and his fellow travelers their failed attempt to scuttle the process through his unsolicited advice to President Muhammadu Buhari to cancel the election as part of the grand orchestration of many evil plots to truncate democracy in Nigeria. Part of the evil plot that has been making the rounds in the last several weeks is the pernicious agenda of wanting to impose and foist an interim government on Nigeria. This is not 1993. Nigerians in unison.
Well, but back on the streets of Abuja, there are protesters as well who are against INEC. We got this earlier.
Broad day robbery. INEC must use the beavers. The writing must be done. The writing must be done. INEC chairman, you must step down and the writing must be done. We must use the beavers. We are tired of this sham. We are tired. We are tired. We are
That's what's happening in Nigeria. This is your Election Command Center. Let's cross over live to the National Electoral Coalition Center in Abuja, INEC. And my colleague, Komla Kluche, who is leading the crack team from TV3 there, is joining us on Zoom. Komla, thank you so much for staying up. I know it's almost midnight where you are. You are still at the coalition center, the National Coalition Center. What's happening there?
Okay, so declaration of results, collation of results actually is what's going on. Just a short while ago, at exactly 10:15 or 10:22, the almost penultimate badge of states have been collated. As we speak now, we have just the results collated for 33 states, and that is inclusive of the FCT. So what it means is that it's left with 3 more states to go, and after that is done, 4 more states actually, 4 more states to go. Once that is done, then the chairman of INEC can go ahead and do the needful. I must say that it's been a very, very, very long day. Those states that have had to travel from very far, the chairman of INEC indicated that they were going to do everything to wait for them. But there's been a lot of diplomatic engagement with the chairman of INEC. I pick a lot of indications that, one, the elders or former heads of state who come under the umbrella of the elder statesmen, have paid a visit to all the candidates or the top 3. I pick that information also, that they've been able to have engagement with the chairman of INEC. At least I saw 2 of them. here. The first batch, which we reported early on during the 7 p.m. news, that the heads of missions led by Uhuru Kenyatta of the African Union paid a courtesy call on the chairman of INEC and his commissioners, encouraging them to go ahead and do what is legally mandated to them. Just shortly after that, just evening around 7 p.m., former President John Dramani Mahama has also, together with the elder statesmen, also paid a visit to the chairman of INEC and other commissioners. So it presupposes that, yes, of course, the mines have been prepped, but the caution to INEC also is the fact that the more you delay, I mean, people are expectant. So there's a need for you to equally work assiduously.
Right.
That, I believe, is one of the reasons why INEC does not want to take a break. Now, they still want to encourage a lot of people, a lot of the state commissioners or the state returning officers to get into Abuja to be able to have the result collated so that, I mean, a final declaration can be done. It's very obvious that tonight, hopefully, this will be done. In terms of the arrangements that we are seeing, it's quite obvious that Professor Mahmoud Yakubu doesn't want to carry or drag this thing anymore. But he's equally determined that all the states are going to be declared and are going to be collated, and then once they're collated, he can go ahead and do the declaration. Everybody is rusty. We've all become worn out here, but hey, that's the only thing left for him to do.
Indeed. And I just saw in there the former president of South Africa, Thabo Mbeki, being escorted out of the hall. Now, tell me, earlier, that was yesterday, 10 out of the 18 representatives of the presidential candidate walked out of the venue where you are now. Did they return today?
No, they didn't return. However, the Inter-Party Advisory Committee, that's IPAC of Nigeria, rather came this morning through their support behind INEC, encouraging them to go ahead and do what is legally mandated for them to do. Now, they also did encourage them that they should take advantage of that window of opportunity where redress would be sought, to have some of the allegations that have been raised by these individuals concerned properly so addressed before, you know, they could have a swearing in of the sort. So yes, that opportunity or that window of opportunity is there, which INEC has been encouraging. And actually, the chairman himself has been reiterating that if you have any concerns whatsoever, yes, of course, take those appropriate means and then you seek for redress. But there's one thing that has been quite obvious, that when the state and the state returning officers come to present the results, the hard copy, already they have they've already sent the soft copy ahead.
Right.
When it's time for them to present, after they present, the opportunity is given to the party agents to quiz them on it. Where there are discrepancies, they make sure that they sort it out. There was an incident just this evening where when one of them did input did come to give a result, but the figures he came to read on a hard copy was different from what was inputted into the server. So he had to go back to the verification desk to have that done before he came back again to be able to do so. Well, I mean, everybody's quite expectant of this, that they think that after Saturday it's about time that the declaration is done. And gradually, I mean, with the fall that is left, well, we now know and can see quite clearly the direction with which Nigeria is going to go.
Komla Kluche, thank you so much for these updates. And that's a man in Abuja joining us live from the National Coalition Center, where we understand it's going to be a long night, and he is there waiting to hear what's going to happen before morning. Stay with us here on your Election Command Center as we update you on the happenings in Nigeria. But take a look at this. A number of you sharing your comments with us on some of the issues that we have discussed so far. And then also Emmanuel says that Ghana must learn from Nigeria and then also slow down on the Ghana card issuance and take all the concerns on board. Thank you so much for this. And on behalf of the rest of the team, appreciate your company. Join us same time tomorrow. I am Alfred Ocansey. Have a good night.